Welcome to the Brew, Drink, Run podcast, brought to you by the only website that promotes brewing your own beer, consuming the best craft beers in the world, and then running off the calories. BrewDrinkRun.com.
It is episode 54 of the Brew, Drink, Run podcast. My name is Lee.
This is Keith.
I'm Raymond.
In this episode, we are drinking beers from Savannah's Service Brewing and Cleveland's Great Lakes. If you like the show, please rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you grab your podcast and write a short review. Those ratings and reviews help more people to find the show. Or tell a friend, post about the show on Facebook or Twitter, and be sure to tag us at Brew, Drink, Run. We start every episode with a beer. Keith, what are we drinking?
We are having Lincoln's Gift Oyster Stout from local Savannah brewery, Service Brewing.
And you can go back and listen to our archives. The CEO, Kevin Ryan, was on a fairly recent episode. It was nice to talk beer with him, and it is a gorgeous facility they have here in Savannah. And to top it off, they're making good beer and great beer. And this is their latest seasonal offering.
That's correct. This came out, I want to say early December, I believe.
December sounds right.
I think it may have actually been bottled and out in some keg form in late November. And the bottles, it took them a little while to get the labels in, even though I think they were approved. They got the keg rings before they got the actual labels. So I believe this hit stores in the past couple of weeks or so. Very end of December, I think the bottles finally hit our shelves here. So anywhere where you can buy Service Brewing, you should be able to find 22-ounce bombers of this beer. Raymond and I were lucky enough to go in and help them bottle this beer. They put out the call for needing some hands on deck to help bottle. So we came in that day. It was a lot of fun as always. An interesting day with it seemed to be some issues with the filling a little bit on this one. Although they had streamlined things a little bit and were started pumping directly from the tanks into the filler, which you fill by hand. The instead of kegs, which we did the last time when we went to help with the Rally Point Pilsner, which all three of us got to help with that. This time it was a little bit foamier, a little bit different beer, and it took us a little while to get it right. So
a lot of tweaking.
A lot of tweaking going on. It was an interesting process, and although it was a little more streamlined, with some extra help that day, it was actually, in some ways, it took a lot longer. It took us the normal amount of time to get done with what we did the first time. Right. It took us a little bit longer. Now, I don't know if we were filling the same amount of bottles or not, but still, it was an interesting day, and it's always a lot of fun. And thanks to the glorious short fills that were capped, and we both Raymond and I got to take a nice little case of this home, which is one of the bottles we're drinking now. So no label on this one. But it is a pretty nice label from what I remember. If anyone can remember exactly what's on that, if you've seen one.
It's Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, was it Lincoln? Kind of like a bluish color.
Yeah,
that's right.
Bluish,
was it Lincoln? I haven't actually seen it yet, so I don't know if y'all have seen the label.
I'm a big fan of their label art. It's really nice. The labels are different colors for each one of their seasonals. This one was blue. I think the Rally Point was yellow.
Yeah, the Oktoberfest was orange. I think. Yeah, orange.
Yes.
Yep.
And then there's a local artist who does this very line art drawings that go on to these labels, and they're really wonderful.
Yeah, Catherine Sandos, who is a local artist, works in a lot of different media, and is a veteran herself. I believe they usually refer to her as an expert grenade thrower.
Oh,
yes,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. The Lincoln's Gift Oyster Stout uses locally harvested May River oysters. Good. And this one is their circular logo they use on these seasonal bottles. They have the name in a pretty bold font there. Has what it is. It's an oyster stout. And this line art is actually a profile of Lincoln sucking down an oyster right off the half shell.
Nice. Very good.
It's pretty classy. It's a nice look. They do a great job with how they design not only their bottles, but their, as I mentioned before, their tasting room and brewery itself is really gorgeous and totally worth stopping in if you're anywhere near Savannah and would like to grab a beer. And they have their special research and development beers there as well. And that's the only place you can get those, constantly rotating out test batches of different styles that head brewer Dan and Jeff and Kevin himself want to brew and want to taste and want to try, and they may make it to production later, or that may be the only time you ever get to try some of their crazy brews that they've come up with.
Absolutely. I saw they'd had a like a raspberry sour brown or something in the tap room just recently. I've unfortunately given my job and the hours I have to work, I don't get to make it out as much as I'd like, and sometimes I see people checking into things on Untapped, or they say, "Hey, come on out, we got this today." I'm like, "Oh, I got to work," I'm like, so it is, get out there, folks. It's a really beautiful, like we said, beautiful facility. They're making some great beer. They're not afraid to do lots of trial run test batches, crazy one-off things that you may or may not see again in Bombers in the future. So.
And all of their beers have military-themed names, going back with Service Brewing and the fact that it was founded by veterans. And a lot of them are fairly self-explanatory, but Lincoln's Gift may be one that's a little out of the realm of most people's military knowledge, maybe, but that goes back to the Civil War when Sherman brought troops into Savannah and offered Savannah as a gift to President Lincoln. So that's where that name comes in for this beer. So that's a nice little local twist they added to it as well. Now, about the beer itself, Raymond, what does this beer look like?
It's really dark. It's got a nice khaki head to it. Started off pretty heavy, and then it faded pretty quickly. Got a good ring around the glass right now. But nice and dark. When you look at it through the light, it's got that good brownish tint to it.
Yep, and oyster stouts. So, Keith, with that style, it's one that we're seeing more and more of, I guess. I mean, it was something that was probably pretty fringe not that long ago.
I feel like it's still pretty fringe, really. I mean, it's, I think, a style that has been more common, clearly, for breweries on a coast.
Sure.
I know Harpoon did one of the first ones I remember trying. I'm not sure if these are more common, let's say, in England, or I'm not too familiar with the beer scene there or any tradition with it. I know 21st Amendment did one that I thought was outstanding, and it's a interesting style. I mean, you're looking at basically, more mild, lower ABV stout, like a more English-style stout, but brewed with oysters.
Yeah.
Oyster shells actually is more what you're looking at in there. I think actually some amount of oysters are used. It doesn't carry the flavor of the oysters, but what you get is brine.
Yep.
Like a saltiness to the beer without being overly salty. But this beer, I know a couple of episodes ago, we had the New Belgium salted Belgian chocolate stout, and I think this one has that sort of almost brininess, saltiness that I wanted in that other beer. So it's doing a great job. The amount, I'm not sure how much oysters they put in this, but whatever they did a great job of getting enough in there to really bring that essence of the coastline, of the oyster, of the brine, of the sea into the stout.
Yeah, I think that described it pretty well. I mean, that's what you're looking for with an oyster stout. You're looking for that added brininess, that saltiness, that something different that brings to it that savoriness in a way. Not really a meat savory, but again, that has to do with the salty, and it changes the consistency for me a little bit too. It has there's a mouthfeel that I look for with an oyster stout.
Yeah.
And the most important thing with this is obviously how it tastes, and it tastes like I want my oyster stout to taste.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is. I get a little bit of smoke, a little bit of that kind of roastiness to it,
sure.
And I get a little bit of dry chocolate in it, but that combination with the malty smoothness and that little bit of brine, that salt, that twang to the water itself is delicious.
I agree. Yeah, this is an excellent stout. It's also one that you can, for a 22-ounce bottle, you can open this up and enjoy it. You're not going to put yourself over the edge, which a lot of times you're looking at 10, 11, 12% beers, and if you want like a nice, easy to drink but flavorful and fairly complex stout, this is an excellent option.
5.6%. So totally willing to sit and be consumed. Absolutely. And highly recommended. Everything that Service is doing is really interesting and worth seeking out. And it's nice that if you're a visitor, you can pick up one of these bottles and take it home with you as well. How's your home brewing going, guys? Keith, you have brewed one batch so far.
One batch, and I'm not in any hurry to brew another. I've had I've had the heck of a time trying to get that carboy clean. So I don't know what the trick is to that.
I have a brush you can borrow.
A brush, yes. I need a brush. I'll definitely do. It was actually, it's fine. It was a fun thing. I may or may not do another one. I'm not sure. I did enjoy the experience. On the plus side, my mom, who helped me brew that, I actually got to bring that down to Florida this past week, visiting for the holidays, and we got to drink it together. So that was probably the highlight of any of it, was actually working on it with her and then being able to share it with her. Those are the best parts of my homebrew experience.
That's really awesome. And Raymond, you got a gift card for Christmas?
All right. Yeah. So I am not like Keith. I am eager to get going on the next one. I just don't know exactly what it is that I'm going to do. I'm going to try two right in series here. I know I'm going to do a wit of some sort because I want to have something for my wife. She puts up with all of this.
She gave you the money to buy the stuff.
Exactly. So I've been trying to figure out what I want to do, and I can't figure that out just yet. But I have been, while I'm debating, I was telling Lee about this the other day, I've been building things, which is a lot of fun. I'm very hands-on DIY kind of guy, and I've been making all sorts of keg tools and little pieces to go along with.
And you got all that ready now. Is that 100% ready to go?
It will be when I order my kits. I've got a couple of little pieces left.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
Awesome. So if you want to head over to our facebook.com/brewdrinkrun, we'll set up a poll where you can vote on what Raymond will brew, and Raymond will be forced to brew it. So if you have ideas for that, hit us up on Twitter at brewdrinkrun, and we will populate that poll with your expert suggestions. The weirder, the better. So with
the first squid stout is going to come out of this or something. Done. Yes.
I'm all about that. For me, the homebrewing, I haven't done anything since that honey white. That was a couple of months ago now. So I'm gearing up for a couple of different things this year. I've really found a couple of lemongrass beers that I've liked. I've enjoyed small batch things. And I want to try to find a way to bring some more of that out in something that's probably a pretty plain Jane base beer, maybe another cream stout sort of a deal, which I've done with oranges and other types of adjuncts before to kind of bring out and highlight some of those additional flavors. So something like that, a nice, refreshing lawnmower beer might be a lot of fun. Maybe even trying to go into some funkier things as well and seeing what we can come up with that way. Our friend Andrew was able to donate a really nice big pot to me not that long ago. So I've got to get some valve fittings, and Raymond and I are going to work together on that. So we'll have a nice valve on that pot and be able to do some larger brew batches. And I'm going to get back to brewing outside again, which we all know that last time.
Surprised.
Don't use hose water, everybody. Don't use hose water. So I'm looking forward to getting back out there. And I have confirmed that's 100% what it is. There was something the other day. I was out watering the lawn, and I smelled it. I'm like, no, this is what that beer smelled like. This isn't right. So don't use your hose water. How's your running going, you guys? So new year, getting out and hitting the pavement again. I'm a little over it right now, so I'm trying to mix up some cross training and some cycling and some other things to kind of alleviate my general malaise with running. But I'm hoping that one of you has been running every day and can tell me how awesome it is to run every day. Keith?
I haven't been running every day. I would guess it's totally not awesome. But I don't know, Raymond have you been running every day?
Counterpoint.
I have been running every day, and it has not been awesome. So I'm no help here. We've just had lousy weather around here. It's been raining and icky and just no fun to go out in.
Yeah, I've been out of town, so I've actually been pretty lucky with the weather, I think. Even though we're in Florida, the weather cooperated, maybe not in the humidity, but in the temperature. It really did while we were there. It was, maybe in the 60s when I went out to run, even though humid. So I've actually gotten pretty lucky on all of the travel I've been having to do and getting my runs in. I actually got all of my 6 runs in for the 2 weeks I was traveling, and that's the first time that's ever happened to me. Usually I just go, meh, and then that's the beginning of what derails me. And then when I get back, it's going to be an issue. Although tomorrow is a run day for me, and kids aren't back in school yet, but my wife, who's a teacher, does have to go back. It's a worker teach day, or worker teacher work day rather. So I'm gonna have her all day, and if you've been reading my blog at all, you know I'm a creature of habit. So it's gonna be hard for me to figure out when and how I'm gonna go out to run. I can't. She's not old enough to leave at the house and go run at this point. So I might try and see if her grandfather's home and if I can leave her for like an hour and get my run in and get back or something, or I might just have to skip a day and maybe work it into the rest of my week some way. But we'll see. I haven't decided what I'm going to do tomorrow. But it's telling that I'm a little bit sort of worried ahead of time about it. So obviously some things have changed in my head where I'm like, I really want to get my run in.
That's awesome. And being a new year, a lot of people come out with their New Year's resolutions this time of year. And for a lot of people, that is their focus is fitness. It is, I want to lose weight. I want to live a healthier lifestyle. I want to whatever. For us, and kind of that theme that we go back to, running is a way to basically burn calories to drink more beer.
Yep.
It is for me anyway.
For me too.
Yep.
So with that, if you are looking for a way to lose some extra weight or at least even maintain and increase your beer regimen, why not? There's nothing wrong with that either. What are some tips that you guys have for people who are either running for the first time or the first time in a while or trying to get into a habit? And Keith, you're great to speak about this because of your blog you've been doing week by week. And then also Raymond, goodness, you're doing it every day. I mean, there's nothing to be said for a regimen more than that.
Well, for me, I need to have a definite schedule, and I need to know pretty much when I'm going, at time of day. I know that doesn't work for everybody. I happen to have a job where I work evenings, so I have a good bit of my mornings during the week open. I've scheduled my run days to come during those times. I'd say one of the things that I think has really worked for me this time around is just the spacing on my runs. Rather than trying to just go every other day and have it get cluttered into my weekends, I have a nice firm schedule of Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So I do the 3 days. And I'm contemplating this year, in the next few weeks, maybe adding Wednesday into that. Maybe not with my one block at a time, but putting in like a short run on Wednesday just to get some extra. Because what's ended up happening at this point for me is I'm maintaining like the weight I'm at, but it's not really helping me lose weight or, that kind of thing. I'm sure I'm in better shape for it. Like for that, I mean, I'm at the point where I go out and run and I'm not out of breath, immediately and that kind of thing. So obviously I'm getting in better shape. But, I think that's important is figure out a schedule if you can that you can feel comfortable sticking with. And one of the things I like about the beginning of my week having 2 runs like that is it gets a huge chunk of it out of the way, and I don't feel like it's weighing on me, and I'm not waiting for the weekend when I have time, quote unquote, and dreading it. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And going back to schedule, and I think that for me anyway, the 2 things were schedule and accountability. And when I was first starting, the 2 things that really helped me the most, one was the Couch to 5K app, because it kind of gave me a place to start. Yep. It's not for everybody. I mean, some people are going to just jump right on and blow that out, and some people are really going to struggle with it. But for me, it was a good place to start because it gave me at least an outline or what I could expect for progress and growth. And the other was using Runkeeper because I had other friends that were on it, and I could see that they were running and when they were running. And that's motivating because they can see when you're not running. And so there was just something about that combination, having a social network for people who are trying to go out and do these things. And as silly as it is, every now and getting that little message, oh, so-and-so liked your run. Like, oh, well, that was nice. They didn't have to say that. All right. I guess I did have a pretty great run today. It's just those little things are really nice. And being able to have the map planning tools as well and Runkeeper, that sort of thing, helped me break out the monotony, especially after been doing it for a while. So, Raymond, other than just the abject fear of letting down all of your fans, what's keeping you running every day?
Oh, that at this point, it's just that it's kind of self-maintaining. I just don't want to stop just yet. But I'm very goal-oriented. So when I started running, I always looked for a goal, and sometimes that was buckling down and registering for a race and having something set out there in the distance that I had to shoot for. Sometimes those are self-imposed, and I'm going to run 17 miles this week or something like that. 17 miles seems to be my weight thing. If I run more than 17, I lose. If I run less than, I maintain. So that's I was feeling Keith there.
Well, signing up for a race, I mean, that's a great motivator for a lot of people. Having something, because it costs money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
you've invested at that point.
Exactly, and a lot of races are not cheap, and now's a great time because especially if you're looking for a distance race, something that's going to have some real training that's going to be involved. It's a great time of year to register for races that are going to be happening at the end of the year, and that's also a nice way to cap off your resolution.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely true because a lot of the longer races are in the fall, and that gives you a lot of time to really work on making good on your resolution of getting into a running routine.
And there's a lot of shorter races that are in the spring too, so you can kind of set a midterm goal too that's a little less ambitious than a 10K or a half marathon or whatever.
Yeah, so that's great. So for us in Savannah, the Rock and Roll is kind of our big marquee half marathon event in the fall every year. And so as much as I personally don't really enjoy running in the big groups, and I also don't like training for a half marathon because it was cheap, I signed up for it. So I'm doing that one again, so I know I can't stop running this year because I've got money on the line. And if you are looking for a fun, kind of ramp-up race, even for super short-term get ready for, the Craft Brew Races series is coming to Savannah this year. So March 15th over at the International Trade and Convention Center, we're going to have our first craft brew race. And so they've been doing these up in the Northeast for a little bit now. And the race consists of a 5K, which is a nice goal for a couple of months out. You may not be running the whole thing, but at a 5K distance, you can totally accomplish that, even if it's a run walk or some combination of that in that amount of time. But it's a 5K combined with a brew fest. So it's right up our alley.
It is. I think we got to sign up like tomorrow, right?
Exactly. It is. We talked about races do cost a little bit of money, but if you register now through February 14th, if you register now until Valentine's Day, it's $50, and that gets you the 5K and the brew fest.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, most of your 5Ks are what, $35 anyways. Yeah. Maybe if you get in real early, 25, 30, but that's not a whole lot extra to go drink some craft beer.
They're expecting around 30 breweries, maybe some more. A lot of our local breweries have already signed up. Southbound's already signed up. Coastal Empire's already signed up. So expect a nice local contingent of breweries. Atlanta breweries, I know Second Self has already signed up, for example, one of Atlanta's newest breweries.
Sure.
So there's going to be a nice local beer contingent as well, which is always great to support those guys. And so what you get the 5K, you get the beer festival. While you're there, you get unlimited sampling as a part of it. No ticketing system. You get to sample. You get a pint glass.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow. You get a finisher's medal.
Cool.
And they've got music and food vendors. So it sounds like it's going to be
Fantastic.
a really fun event. We're
no
looking
T-shirt?
forward. I don't think so.
I'm
I
just
think the
kidding.
glass
I'm
is
just
your
kidding.
deal.
Just
Yeah,
kidding.
glass is your deal. Once you start getting into races, you're not going to want any more T-shirts.
No, I'm kidding.
So, again, that's the Craft Brew Races event 2015. They're happening all over the East Coast, and the one in Savannah is March 15th, and that cannot be more coincidental for St. Patrick's Day. I mean, that's obviously St. Patrick's Day weekend, the weekend before, the weekend closest to. So if this is if drinking beer and walking around and watching parades and seeing people be crazy is up your alley, plan to stick around.
Yeah, just make a vacation out of it.
I think that's the idea for sure. So that'll be something cool for us to look forward to.
And what about reading? There's a leisure time activity that will help you learn things you'd like to know about many subjects.
Raymond's Book Corner.
Oh, that doesn't get old. Raymond. There are a lot of books out there in the world. There are picture books that are just pictures.
Yes.
There are dictionaries, which are literally just books full of words and what those words
Isn't that kind of no
mean.
All right, I got you. Go ahead.
And at this part of our show, Raymond's Book Corner, it's where we go to Raymond, our trusted book expert, to get recommendations on books. books that no one wants to read but still wants to gain the immense knowledge held within those pages in that hardcover wrapped in canvas cloth and encased again in some sort of jacket to prevent dust on top of it. So instead of you reading it, why don't you go to audible.com, and audible.com will give you a free download of this audiobook, and somebody else will read it to you. You can get a 30-day free trial from audible.com. Or if you do like to read, you can go to brewdrinkrun.com, take a look at this episode's show notes, and click on a link and buy the book from amazon.com. Either way, we get money. Raymond, what have you got for us today?
I've got a beer book for us today. The Perfect Keg by Ian Coates. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. This is a really interesting book. Ian wanted to brew a local brew, completely local. So he grew his own wheat and barley and harvested his own yeast and everything. Did it all from scratch and wrote a book about it. And so the book's all about the process of brewing beer and home brewing, but also this kind of very hyper-local mentality behind that process.
We should totally do this, you guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
we should.
I volunteer Keith's house for the barley. I volunteer Raymond's house for the wheat.
Amber waves.
And I'll culture the yeast, you guys. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. That's what I'll contribute to this. It'll be fine. Don't ask. It'll be fine. So what's the kicker in this? What did you really walk away from this book with? What knowledge did you glean that was like, I mean, don't spoil the ending. I mean, I don't spoil anything.
No.
But what was the big aha in this book?
Just that you could do it. I mean, this guy just decided he was going to have a farm and kind of grow all of these things on this level, and that you could go out and harvest your own yeast. Now, he took it to whole new levels where he had some science laboratory friends who were analyzing things for him too. But just that you could go out into your backyard and get yeast and brew some beer from it.
I did read an article this week that was basically that, you know, we've had all these years of drinking local beer and that being a big thing, and that the new thing is going to be drinking native beer, where all the pieces, not just that it's brewed locally, but that your hops are local, that your grain sources are local, and that idea of a native beer as being the next big step. So if that's something that interests you, The Perfect Keg by Ian, possibly Coates, could be a book for you. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/brewdrinkrun. That's audibletrial.com/brewdrinkrun for your free audiobook. Or go to brewdrinkrun.com, click on this show's notes, and then the link to buy it on amazon.com. We'll be right back. We are back, and we are drinking a beer that I'm really excited about. So I had the chance last year to go up to Cleveland and visit Great Lakes Brewing Company. It's a beautiful facility. They have a really great space, a really attractive space. There's a lot of great beer things happening in Cleveland, and Great Lakes are one of the reasons for that, being there as long as they have and really being one of the forefathers of what the modern Cleveland craft beer scene is. And one of the beers that they are most celebrated for and people most look out for is their Blackout Stout. Now, today we are doing a side-by-side of the barrel-aged Blackout Stout, which I'm super psyched for. We're doing a 2013 and 2014 side-by-side. This beer has a 97 on Beer Advocate and a 100 on Rate Beer. So its reputation precedes it. And as Keith is pouring our glasses, being sure to make sure that no one is left a drop unequaled, There, yeah, I need a drop. There you go.
Get a little extra in there.
There's the other drop.
Shaking it out like Tabasco. So.
This is looking like it's going to be a fantastic side by side. One thing that's interesting about this beer, when I was looking it up and trying to learn a little bit about it, I was surprised that it was a 12-ounce offering. I expected these kind of special variants. I've just become so accustomed to them being in 22-ounce bottles, and I was just at first I was a little overwhelmed that Keith was going to make us drink another 2 22-ounce bombers tonight. But the fact that it comes in a 12-ounce bottle, I think is really refreshing. And I guess if you're looking at it that way, you're comparing this beer to something like a Bourbon County in terms of... Yeah,
I think this comes in 4-packs. They're actually just about to do the 2015 release on this. That's going to happen if you're up in that area and you're listening to us. I believe on Monday, January 26th, they have an event set up for that where you pay a certain amount. I'm not sure what it is, but you get a certain number of 5-ounce tastes and of different variants or different ages of this and different beers they have. So you get some beer while you're there, open bar, there's going to be food available, and you get a first crack at picking up your bottles of this. They have it set up in single bottles, 4-packs and case sales. So that's good on them for doing that. And this is a great beer. They actually, a lot of people go out of their way to get a hold of this. I've had it before. It was a 2013 bottle, at about a year old, and I thought it was outstanding. I thought it was maybe just a touch underneath your Bourbon County KBS level, but not by much. I mean, I really thought this is worth seeking out, and it's one of those beers, if you're trading, it is actually a little bit easier for whatever reason to get a hold of, but this is some fantastic beer that we have in our glasses here. Got these in a trade, and I can't quite remember who it was. I think it was Eric who sent me these. We worked out as part of a trade. So been holding on to these for a little while. Just yet again another beer I kind of wanted to share with the guys and maybe set up for a podcast, and we finally got around to it. So I'm really happy to be able to share this.
So first things first, let's talk about the way this beer looks in the glass. Raymond.
Just very similar to the first beer we had. Very nice and dark. Head's not quite as brown as maybe the other one's. A little thinner maybe looking, but... I'm going to say definitely thinner in terms of how it looks. I can, through the top quarter an inch to half an inch, I can see through it. Yeah, it's got a reddish-brown look to it.
reddish brown.
Yeah, it's definitely got a reddish-brown hue. You can actually, looking down from the top, tilting the glass a little bit, you can kind of see all the way through this. So it's not a super black, oily, dark color. Obviously, trying to split, pours from a 12-ounce bottle, I couldn't really pour these heavily to create a nice head. I think if you pour this into your your Spiegel Stout glass or into a nice snifter, you're probably going to get a nice really head on top of this.
And I'm starting to panic because I just randomly picked one up. Which one is which?
Okay. This is your 13.
Okay.
That's
great.
Your 14.
Fantastic.
And Raymond, yes, your smaller Terrapin snifter there is your 13, 14. Okay. And I also have my Service snifter here with the 13 in it.
All right. With a beer like this, that's going to be a barrel-aged beer, smell for me is going to be really important on this. So what are we getting on aromas? We'll start with the 2014. Do you want to go backwards? Start with the fresher one?
I think with this you go back and forth and you see if there's any real difference after a year, what's faded and what hasn't.
I get more of the oak in the 13, I think.
I do too. Absolutely.
Actually, I feel like the aroma is bigger in general on the 13 for me than the 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get as much aroma really at all. I mean, it's comparable. It's very similar, but I get much more of it on the 13.
The 13, I'm getting a lot of vanilla, molasses, oak, like you said, just the barrel itself a little bit in there. The bourbon is there. It's not overwhelming. When I first opened that bottle, I could smell the beer coming out of it. Just before I put it down, I could kind of smell it coming out of the bottle. But interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm surprised that the aroma on the fresher bottle, even though it's still a year old, isn't nearly as big.
All right, drink them. Drink them, drink them, drink them.
All right, so I did the 13.
All right, do the 14 now. Just go ahead and do it. Because we need to talk about how they're different.
Ooh, they're completely different.
There's a lot of different going on between these two. Several different points in which they are different in your mouth. So we talked about the aromas are different. The 13 has a stronger aroma in general. There's more that you can pick out from it. The taste on the 13, Keith, the taste on the 13, what do you think?
Sweet. It's talking about just the taste itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like after taking a sip of the 14, I can't quite get what I had the first time.
Yeah.
The 14, I don't know. I don't know if this is where you're going. Seems really boozy and hot compared to this one to me.
Yeah. There's definitely that. For me, the 13, and I still taste it, even going back. The 13 is much more muddled in terms of the overall profile. Like, it's not anywhere easier for me to go through and pick out. Well, there's vanilla, and there's a little bit of this roast, and there's the bourbon.
Yeah,
It tastes more like an old ale.
It's sweet.
And there's something cloying about the sweetness too. There's like the saccharine bite.
I don't know. I don't quite get that, but
I got a lot of vanilla up front too.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of vanilla on the 13.
Mm-hmm.
There's this for me anyway. At the 13 at the end of my sip, which is unfortunate because I'm totally down until the end.
Right.
I get this sour bitterness that I'm attributing to something when something's overly sweet. And the beer itself, I don't feel like it is overly sweet, but there's something about the finish on it that I get this. It's not tannic, but
I get what you're saying. You've planted that in there.
Damn you!
It doesn't finish like let's say your Bourbon County that you had the other night, which is just gonna
so
smooth.
And fades.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is just kind of true. I don't think this is quite in that category. Although this is an outstanding, I think, bourbon barrel-aged stout. Just the simple fact that I know that you had one of those. Was it last night even? Was it 2 nights ago?
I don't know, 2 nights ago.
That's going to probably mar this experience a little bit for you.
But I've got to say, the 2014, I like a lot. And I feel like... And I guess we are almost a year out on the 2014. And that's important to remember. Because while the Bourbon County I just had a couple of nights ago that you're referencing was this year's and was fairly fresh.
Yeah.
And that was boozy and hot as all get out.
Yeah.
This is not that. I mean, it is not that hot.
If it tastes boozier than the 13, though.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Without
I
a
feel like
doubt.
this may be a sweet spot. I mean, and not having it brand new. Like if it is
Right,
that hot
yeah.
when it is super fresh.
Yeah.
This 1 year out, this is really, for me, this is drinking.
Yeah,
really well.
I would say that overall, I'm enjoying the 14 better than the 13, but on the same level, I think just the extra heat I'm getting on the 14 is a little bit of a drawback from the 13. So I think they both have good qualities to them, but I think you're right. I'm thinking somewhere between drink them when you get them and about a year old.
Mm-hmm.
Is a really nice sweet spot on this. Now, this beer could really do some really interesting things at 5 years or something. You know what I mean? You just let it really sit, and it just maybe just congeals into some kind of like really sweet thing. But you're going to lose almost all of that bourbon, I would guess. In fact, the bourbon is much more prevalent in the 14 than it is in the 13 to me. So, and that's only at an extra year of aging.
And I feel like the 14 is just a lot brighter overall. I feel like it is much easier to pick out those notes, and the carbonation is really kind of hits it off really well. I feel like it complements those unique flavors that you get right away. And if the 13 was, I don't know, if I hadn't had them both, like I feel like there was that little note at the end that I didn't like about the 13, and that kind of bummed me out. And then I tried the 14, I'm like, oh, this is great. This is really good. And so that made me not like the 13 even more, because I do miss those notes, and I do understand you do get the vanilla off the 13.
I want the aroma on the 13 on the taste of the 14. That's what I want. Yeah,
because that was a weird switch I wasn't expecting.
Right.
Because from the smell, I'm like, oh, this is going to be my flavor bomb, and it wasn't. It was the other way.
I feel like that note that you're getting on this, I'm sort of getting almost like which obviously they're in there, but it's almost like a hoppiness on the finish to the 14, which, I mean, that could be settling into a little bit of a kind of weird, sour note on the 13 for you.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's not just super rich and malt bomb on this. There you can still get a little bit of that kind of hot bitterness on the finish of the 14.
Yeah, and it is just that muddiness of the 13 for me at this point. And I mean, not that I haven't had beers that are more muddy than this, but especially compared to the 14, it's just...
I think that's what some people like, though. I think that's why some people really like to age stouts, is because it just congeals everything into this sort of... it's almost like the people who prefer to mix up their food on the plate versus
it's all going to the same place.
Yeah, exactly. But some people, they like to mash everything together. I mean, there are some people who are going to mix their spaghetti sauce all over their spaghetti and get sauce on everyone, and then there are some people who like to just get the sauce that comes up and actually not like literally drench every bit of it in it. So I think that's kind of the thing that goes on when people really like to age stouts for a long time. They want to just take away the separation of flavors that you get sometimes when a stout's young and just sort of meld it into one kind of sweet, boozy, roasty, malty kind of thing.
Raymond, where are you falling on this? Between the two, do you have a preference, and why is that one your preference?
I'm having a hard time. I'm with you guys completely. I like the nose on the 13 way better than the 14. And the 14 is a smoother beer just across the board, or for sure. But there's something in the 13 that I do like, and you're right. It finishes oddly, but
and if I could take that finish out, I might have a completely different. And unfortunately, that's just what I'm left with too after every sip. If it was on the front end, I would probably, by the time it was done, I would forget all about it.
Sure.
Just because of where that falls, it's frustrating because I want to like the 2013 more, but them's is the breaks.
But why? Why do you want to like that one more?
Not more than the 14. I want to like it more than I do.
Oh, you more than you do. Okay, I was going to say, I don't understand why.
I want to like it more than I do. But it's still like, and I do like it for those qualities that you get, and I love to compare it. I think whenever you can have a base beer, and we're not even talking about a base beer, we're talking about a barrel-aged variant, so we should even talk about that for a hot second. But whenever you have a core beer that you've aged, being able to go back and look and see what that time has done to it is always amazing, and how some beers really hold up to it, how some beers blossom into something more amazing, and some just gently recede, and some fall off. I mean,
it is. It's a fun experiment, and I think that was one of the things I was excited about this particular trade. I was telling Lee, I think, before we started, this wasn't the centerpiece of the trade. I want to say a 14 was a part of the main trade, and we were working just on the... and all of the things working up to it, and maybe there was something being offered that I wasn't super into or I'd had before. Then I was like, well, how about, one of the 13s? Looks like you have several bottles of the year before, because I wanted to do the extra aging kind of side-by-side situation. So it's fun. I love doing these kinds of experiments, and I really like doing them live here without any kind of, precursor or having any experience. I've tried this beer before, but other than trying it and think it was really good, it's funny to see, oh, well, this is where your kind of sweet spot is on where I would hold. If I got a 15 bottle for whatever reason, like if one just randomly showed up in the mail for us here or something, I would make sure I drank it before a year was over.
P.O. Box 6278, Savannah, Georgia 31415. Oh, it's 31414. 31414. All right.
To beer or not to beer? It's time for Beer Review Theater.
Is it going to be a comedy or a tragedy today?
Oh, well, I think that's up to you, dear listener. Today's Beer Review Theater comes from BobbyLikesBeer.com.
Okay, good.
Wait,
He likes it?
but is it he?
Yes.
Is it an I or a Y?
It's a Y, and I did some background here. So Bobby is from Cleveland.
Why are we starting background now all of a sudden?
Look, I usually like to see where the people. All right, granted.
Episode 54. We're going to start
Research
checking stuff
all of
out
a
before we
sudden.
start recording.
Look, I did all kind of research for this one. So Bobby is from Cleveland. BobbyLikesBeer.com is a great website about local beer. He reviews other beer too, but a lot of it is about Cleveland stuff. He hasn't been updating as much lately because he's a beer columnist for Cleveland Scene. I think a lot of his writing is going over there. So I want to say, number one, Bobby does a really great job educating local people about local beer stuff and has been doing it for a long time.
Yep.
He's from Cleveland, Great Lakes, obviously from Cleveland. And when I think of Cleveland, I think of Grover Cleveland. President.
Former president.
And when I think of Grover Cleveland, I think of Grover from Sesame Street. So today's beer review theater, with all respect to Bobby, is by Grover from Sesame Street. Hello, everybody. This review as a whole was written from going to the release day and having the tickets, having to try the other things.
Which year was this last
2010.
year?
This is
2010.
2010.
This is several years ago.
Several years ago, and I've removed sections of the review that pertain to other beers and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so this is not a direct, so I kind of skip around a little
The
bit.
abridged version.
The abridged because it was pretty long. I swear the lights dimmed and flickered when the bartender poured the beer into the glass. The glass was handed to me, and I noted that the beer was the blackest beer I've ever seen. It was the shade of black the Rolling Stones sang about painting things. We're talking Space Mountain at Disney black. Blacker than Dick Cheney's soul. Oh, my. Each year, I remark that this beer tastes like heaven. Seriously, I'm buried in bourbon, vanilla, and chocolate bliss. In my notebook, I scribbled the following. Dear God, when I die, please have this on tap at the Pearly Gates Bar and Grill. It wouldn't be heaven without it. The way this magnificent creation holds together is amazing. It's extreme in every fashion, but somehow everything balances out. Barrel-aged Blackout Stout reminds me of that Simpsons episode where Mr. Burns has every malady known to mankind, and that's what's keeping him alive. In other words, the extremity somehow creates a balance that works oh so very well. Subtle hops, notes of coffee, and hints of blackstrap molasses help to round out the flavor. But seriously, and clearly, the chocolate malty base and phenomenal bourbon barrel aging are the stars of the show here. The mouthfeel is creamy and substantial without crossing the line into syrupy territory. The carbonation gives a hint of life to the beer without distracting from heavy viscosity. Perhaps the best part of barrel-aged Blackout Stout is how eminently drinkable it is. This is a work of art. The beer is seriously up there with all the great beers in history.
Well done.
Wow.
So, do you guys think Bobby likes barrel-aged Blackout
think he
Stout?
does.
It sounds like he might like it a little
According
bit.
to his rating system, it is an A+ world-class beer. And he gives the following note at the end, my favorite beer in the world.
Well, man. Wow.
Along with Pliny the Younger from Russian River, this is one of only 2 perfect beers I've ever had. A must for every beer lover. Seek out a bottle at any cost.
I'm not going to go so far as to say that he's not wrong. I mean, that's great. To me, this falls in that, just subcategory behind.
Wouldn't that mean he is wrong?
Well, no. I mean, it's. I mean, I can see why you would. I can see why anyone might prefer this over some of the other beers I like better. Bourbon County is not as drinkable as this. That's for sure.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And there's lots of reasons why you might prefer this over another one. It's a well crafted, well done beer, and I feel like there's a nice consistency going too, and that's I think is important when you have any kind of beer like this. When you have a major fall off or something, the beer nerds will not let you live it down. The 2013 then I'd have lived up to the blah. And that goes on all the time, and sometimes it might be true. I've certainly had beers. I'm like, I don't know what happened this year, and then I give it another try the next year. I'm like, wow, so much better. There could be any number of reasons for that, but good on them. I mean, this is great, and that was a wonderful Grover impersonation, by the way, as well. It was very well done.
Thank you so much. It's been a lifetime in the works. I would love to drink this hot. I would love to drink this.
I would really like to try this 2015 of this too, because I think it would be interesting to see if it's just. Both of these are super flavorful. Does it just explode in your mouth, when you have it fresh, or is it just hotter and more bourbony? You know what I mean? So
there's a lot of text on their bottles, and this one in particular seems to have a lot going on. Is there any note on there about recommendations about aging or not aging?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think they have anything about that on here. No, on quick inspection, I don't see anything where it says, for years to come or anything like that.
I
good
find
for
that to
whatever.
be more intriguing all the time when I look at bottles. I think we talked about Westbrook recently on episode 50 with their drink fresh.
Yeah,
with
sure.
And Hunapus does the same thing, drink
sure.
fresh. But then you've got Stone coming out with the Drink After series, and coming out doing vertical.
So many of
series.
those Goose Island beers are ages gracefully for 5 years or however they put it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some that say we can age this for many years if you store it properly and stuff like
because
that.
the mentality of it, part of it is the beer collector thing, where you want to, it's like Pokemon, get them all, right?
Exactly.
You want to try it at all, different vintages, and you want to get those ticks, and you want to know what they are. And it's also, if you think about it from the brewery side, there's something to be said that, they would want you to buy more than one.
Sure.
I guess it's Three Taverns. Their thing on their bigger beers is buy a bottle, is share a bottle, save a bottle.
Save a bottle, yeah.
And buy more than one, right? It's in our best interest if you buy as many of these as possible and make these as desirable as possible within the community. And then you have some breweries who just come out and be like, no, drink it now. It's designed to be consumed now, not to be put away. And then you have others who choose not to address it either way, to kind of stay neutral.
Yeah.
In the whole thing. So
Cigar City is one that's vocal. Like we made this beer for you to drink. Why don't you drink it? But I think that is interesting. I think it depends on the styles you do and from what kind of background you come from, because I feel like a lot of places that do lots of kind of Belgians and sours and that kind of thing, there's a tradition of aging beer almost like you would wine, and I think that if you are into that kind of mentality, you're going to think about that in that way, and you're going to brew beers for that. I think brewers who maybe are trained or subscribe more to, let's say, a German mentality or maybe a classic American brewing mentality might say, we made this to drink it. Why would you want to sit on beer? We're going to make more. Go on and drink this. So it's interesting, and I think that's where the educated consumer comes in. You make the decisions on what you want to age and what you don't want to age. I think I have a 2011 Hunapus that I have or something like that at this point. I have one left, and I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to drink it. I know it's probably a shell of its former self, but you know what? After 5 years, it could be the most brilliant thing I've ever tried, and I'm never going to know unless I just decide to sit on it for a while,
Yeah, there's something about that. There's something about that mentality. It's almost like, when you work to get bottles, whether you drive long distances to get them or you wait in line or you trade things that you had to work for to get these other bottles, there's this mentality of I've got money in the bank.
Yeah, I got money invested.
And do I want to, is it time to spend that money yet?
Well, sometimes the verticals happen almost accidentally. For me, Black Ops is one. I have now a 4-year vertical because I picked up this year's when I was in Florida. or last year's. I guess technically this comes out at the very end of the year. So you think about this year's comes out right before the year changes. So, your 14 is kind of really a 15, when you pick it up. But anyways, I now have 4 bombers, and it's almost like your run streak. Like, how do I decide how many bottles is enough to have a proper vertical to like share and open as a party, where you get to try X amount of years? You want there to be enough of a lag in between the first one you're opening to the fresh one. But when is that good enough? And these are bottles that at $20 plus a pop I'm sitting on, because that's like $80 worth of beer that I'm just sitting there going, I don't know when to open these.
Yeah, I've already gotten married,
and I'm not. Yeah, and it's like I'm not having another kid, so there's not going to be that. So it is an interesting culture, and lately I've been going into the cellar a lot more and just going, you know what, the time is now. I'm not going to sit on this anymore. I need to open this. But then there are other more special bottles that I go, you know what, the time is not now. Not now yet. It's not now yet. I'm still going to hold on this.
For more about us and Brew Drink Run, go to brewdrinkrun.com. Follow us on Twitter at brewdrinkrun or on Facebook at facebook.com/Brew
Drink Run.
All of our writers are also on Untapped. If you want to be a part of the show, email us at team@brewdrinkrun.com. Let us know about your home brewing, your running, or your favorite place to grab a beer. Or better than that, send us some audio. Call us at 781-76-DRINK, 781-763-7465. We've got Brew Drink Run t-shirts and technical running shirts available at our website. Click on the store link. Our theme music is provided by Morning Lights. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you at the bar. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Thanks for your homie.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Andrew. Happy New Year, Alan. Who else? Who else is regulars on our show?